All right, so if you are stuck on Shopify, you can't scale, I want you to go to the description of this video and open the link to this spreadsheet. Now, this is a template that I've put together, and I use this template every time I am analyzing one of our existing clients, right, to see where the performance issues are, or I'm auditing a potential new client to come on to the agency. So this is tried and true, right? We've used this multiple times. And what I'm going to do, so as you pull that up, we're going to go through this together and we're going to pinpoint where the issues are in your funnel. And then we're going to talk about how to improve them. Okay. So if you open this, just make a copy so that you can edit it and you can have it as your own. And then if you're using this after in the future, just read through these instructions. I'm going to go through all of this now. Okay. So let me just zoom in. So what we have here is these are all metrics, right, throughout the funnel, really from your ads, starting from your ad spend, all the way through to your conversion rate, your revenue, all that stuff, right? So what I do is I go into, let's just say we focus on meta ads, right? I go in there, I focus on maybe one campaign or a group of campaigns that are focusing on the same product. The reason why that's important is because if you have multiple campaigns and data for different products, then that's going to be skewed because some products will perform better than others. And yeah, it's not just giving you clean data. So that's one of the instructions that I put above. Now, what you want to start doing is in this row here, you want to start copying and pasting your metrics from Meta or from Triple Whale if you use a tracking platform into this spreadsheet, okay? And the metrics in gray, so these ones that are highlighted, you don't need to change these because these change automatically, all right? They're calculations, they're already formulas in this spreadsheet. So you enter all your information, you can find this information in, like if it's in the ads manager, just customize the columns, right? And search for each of these metrics. If it's in Triple Whale, the same thing, right? Customize the columns, find the metrics. So once you've done that, you will find that there's obviously a lot of data. And how do we start to identify where the potential issues may be, right? So that's why I have this benchmark ranges table here, just to give you an idea of where your metrics should be. Now, this is for the US, I'll caveat that. If you're in other parts of the world, you might need to look at different benchmarks, but this is what we tend to see in the US market. So CPM ranges like wildly, right? There's such a big range, $4 to $25. Usually, like if your AOV is $150 or less, your CPM shouldn't really be above $17, right? That's what we tend to see. If your AOV is higher, then you can afford to have a higher CPM. So if let's just say your AOV is $50 and you have a CPM of 25, like something's wrong. CPM is a little bit of a black box because it's so many different factors that determine what your CPM is. A lot of it is down to the time of year, the market, the product you're selling, and how much data your pixel has, right? So if you're very new to Facebook ads as well, and your CPM is high, that may be the case, and it's just something that you're going to have to work through. It's going to take some time for it to come down, but what you can do is you can focus on the other metrics in the meantime. So let's move to outbound CTR. So we like to aim for a minimum of 0.8%, right? The higher the better. Usually we find that like 1% on average is a sweet spot. If the AOV is higher, right, this tends to be lower. So that's just something to keep in mind. And if you're in a really, really competitive space, then it's also going to be lower. So just keep that in mind as well. But you want to be aiming for the 1%. If you're near it, if you're 0.9, you're good, right? You can try and optimize it a little bit, and it's always good to try and do that. And we'll get into that, like how to do that in a moment. But it may not be the area of focus that we need to do right now. So this example that I pulled, the reason why I haven't highlighted any of these cells in red, which is the next step, right? You highlight the cells in red that need to be improved. I haven't highlighted this one because we're pretty much bang on 1%, and I don't really think it's an area for improvement at the moment. So add to cart percentage, this is when it comes to people that are going to your landing page or your website, what percentage of that traffic is clicking and adding the product to cart. So if you have an AOV below 250, we tend to see a minimum of 4%. Now, you want this to be more like 8% above, like 8% average. The closer you are to 250 in AOV, that's going to be lower, it's fine. But if your AOV is more around the $100 mark, which is more common, or just above and below $100, you're going to want to be aiming for 6, 7, 8%, even above, just to give you more room. So we're going to see why this is important in a moment. Then you have your, add to cart percentage. If your AOV is above $500, we see this as like minimum 1.2%. This is just data that we have from our clients. If you're in between these two AOVs, I guess take the average of the in between. But yeah, that's just data that I can provide based on experience. Add to cart to initiate checkout. So the amount of people that reach the checkout from those that add to cart. So we see this as a minimum 55%. Now in this table, you're adding the initiate checkouts from your ads, right? So initiate checkout percentage here, this is not the same way it's calculated in the benchmarks. So the way it's calculated here is based on total traffic, right? So 5% of our total traffic is adding to cart. 11.6% of our total traffic coming from the ads is adding to cart. And this one, 5% of the total traffic is initiation checkout. So what you do to get this benchmark metric here at 55% is you take the number of initiate checkouts and you divide that by the add to carts, and that's going to give you the percentage, right? So if we just do this real quick here, if we just take this initiate checkouts and divide it by add to carts, we'll get 43%, okay? So we're a little bit off target, and that's why I highlighted this as an area for improvement. Add to cart to purchase rate, which is the amount of traffic that purchases from those that add to cart, we say 40% as a minimum. And same thing here, like your conversion rate here, this is like total traffic, right? So you're also going to have this number. But the reason why I've broken it up like this is because conversion rate as a metric varies wildly. So if we are able to pinpoint more specific areas of the funnel, it means that the benchmarks apply more across the board, right? There's still going to be some outliers, whatever, but this is more of a broader range metric that we can apply. So minimum 40%, the way we calculate the metric for that one is we take our purchases and we divide it by the number of add to carts, right? So if we do that, we take our purchases and we divide it by the number of add to carts, we get 14.5%, right? So really, really low. And that's why I've highlighted conversion rate as another area for improvement here as well, because that the 14.5 should be 40%, right? So there's a lot of room for improvement there. AOV, we say minimum $70. Here we have $43.35 AOV. The reason why I haven't highlighted this is because the price per product is at the moment too low for us to get an AOV $70. Is pretty, like, it is an area of improvement for us, but in terms of what we're going to be focused on right now, it's more the conversion rate metrics. And what we do for conversion rate is AOV multiplied by CVR, conversion rate, is greater than or equal to 250. So in this calculation, what you would do is you would take the AOV, 43.35, and you'd multiply it by the conversion rate, but you wouldn't multiply it as a percentage, you'd multiply it as a whole number. So 43.35 multiplied by 1.69 would be the calculation here, and we're way below 250. So the reason why this is important is because AOV and conversion rate is a balance. Both metrics, they play with one another, meaning if you have a high AOV, it's likely that your conversion rate is going to be lower and vice versa in most cases. So if you just focus on one of those metrics, let's say just heavily improving AOV, your conversion rate is likely going to drop. But what you really want to focus on is how are these two metrics playing together? Because if you have an AOV of $70, but your conversion rate is 6%, then you're good, right? You don't really need to focus on improving AOV. So the reason why this is important as well is because there's only so much you're going to be able to get AOV to depending on your product. For this example, right, I said that our individual product price is low, so that getting AOV to $70 is hard, right? It's at this moment unlikely unless we do some drastic like product price testing and maybe some more bundle testing. But that's why at the moment I want to focus on conversion rate in this example. So important to keep that in mind. And those are the benchmark metrics. So moving into like, how do you actually improve these metrics? So what I want you to do is, after you highlight your metrics in red, like I've done here, is I want you to copy and paste these values in the row below. And then I want you to take the metrics you've highlighted in red and start to play around with the numbers, right? See where you can get it to using the benchmark metrics to realistically scope out what you can increase that to, and be realistic. Let's just say that you don't even hit the benchmark, but you're somewhere near it, and you make an improvement on what you're already doing. And then you highlight those cells in green, like I've done here. So what I've done is I've taken the benchmark metrics that we have for other similar brands to this one and applied them here. And we've seen a drastic increase in conversion rate just by increasing the number of initiate checkouts, right? So changing just one metric can lead to crazy increases in performance, right? So that's why this is really, really important to pinpoint. So we do that, and then you can also start to see where your ROAS goes, because ultimately what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, with these metrics, our current ROAS 1.53, let's just say, is not on target, right? We need to change something. So if we play around with the metrics and we make these tweaks, we can start to see, how does this ROAS change? And maybe we only need a 2x, right? Maybe we only need a 4.75, maybe we only need a 2. And what we can start to do is that, okay, if we just increase the initiate checkout percentage just a little bit, and we increase the conversion rate just a little bit, and maybe AOV just a little bit, and an outbound CTR just a little bit as well, all of a sudden we're above 2x, right? So that is what I want you to do. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go into how to improve your metrics. So what I've done is I've taken each of the metrics that you can have direct control over, and I have given you ideas on how to improve them, along with a video for each one of these metrics as to how you can improve them. So what I'd recommend you do, depending on what metric you want to focus on and what you need to improve, is watch the video related to those metrics and apply whatever you learned from that video, okay? If you want a team to do all of this for you, you can check us out, hazemedia.co. We're a done-for-you agency. We work with a handful of brands, and what we do is we focus and scale those brands as far as they will go and as far as the founder will want them to go as well. So that is it from me. I hope this video is helpful. I hope this helps you get unstuck and gives you clarity into how to look at the individual metrics across the funnel and also the benchmarks as to what you should be aiming towards. All right, that's it from me. See you in the next one.